what I've done here is I'm focusing on how dreams reveal your spiritual gifts. And I pick two particular gifts. I pick spiritual healing and channeling. And then I have another little one at the end that shows a dream in complete detail, but you'll see how that works. But let's have a look at this. Hopefully enjoy it, and it's a little bit different because it's New Year's Day. So you're going to see the presentation. I'm looking at it on the screen here. You'll see it beside me in the broadcast. Okay, so starting off first, we have 4 rules of dream interpretation, but I'm only going to cover one here because it's all that's applicable for this part of the lesson. And the first rule is that everything in a dream is you. And we can break that down into essentially earth, air, fire and water that you will see in many disciplines across the spiritual field. The physical body is represented by solid objects like houses, buildings and cars, and that's the earth symbol. Your state of mind is represented by air, or the atmosphere, or how you decorate a room. The atmosphere in a room, so you would have storms and dark clouds could indicate state of mind. And then emotions are indicated by symbols of fire, such as lightning or fire in a fireplace, or just a fire. And then lastly, we have spiritual life, which I'll get into in a second, indicated by water, whether it's rivers, lakes, canals, or oceans. And that has to be unpolluted water. If it's polluted water, it's a little bit different. So let's move along. If we have a look from module 3 of the course, how do we tell if dreams are about our higher self or our spiritual aspect? Because dreams can cover anything, the full gamut of, relationships, career, health, etc. So how do we know it's about your spiritual side? And location, as with most dreams, the location tells us really the subject matter. Places of worship, regardless of what the place of worship is, it doesn't have to match your religion. You don't even have to be religious. But you know what a synagogue, what a mosque, what a church is for. So when you see that in your dream, you know then that the dream is definitely about your spiritual side. Waterways, like I said, are very important. Oceans, so how does an ocean work? Life on the planet Earth came from the ocean, so the ocean is analogous to the fact that life came from the spirit world in a dream. So it means then that it's about the spirit world. An ocean is about the spirit world. Rivers cut their own flow to get back to the sea. And that's what our purpose in life is, about increasing our awareness, discovering who we are, to regain our former spiritual awareness. So rivers indicate that you need to develop a free flow for whatever your spiritual aspects are, whatever those gifts are. Lakes are a large body of water that have no flow or no outlet typically. So here it would indicate then that you have a deep spiritual reservoir, but you haven't tapped into it, so you need to do something. So it's a double-edged sword. It's good because it's saying you've got a deep spiritual reservoir to tap into, but you haven't done enough with it or anything with it yet in your life. And then we have canals. They're fairly easy. A canal is a body of water or a flow of water that whose direction is completely controlled by man-made structures. So it says that you or your spiritual flow is controlled by man-made or conventional ideals. So society or something in society holds you back from really letting yourself go. Then we have the beach, and the beach is the approach to the sea. So with the sea being about, or the ocean being about spirituality, the beach then is about your spiritual approach. And it's fairly common to see in dreams. And then high locations, because our spiritual aspect is our higher side, about our higher self, higher functioning. High locations then indicate that aspect of us. And then we have interview rooms and exam halls. Exam halls being the most common. So we're not allowed to do an exam, sit an exam, until we've met whatever the requirements are. But once we've done that exam, we're then free to go into the bigger world or a different phase of life completely. Just like when you finish high school, do your final high school exam or your final college exam, you're ready to close off one chapter of life and move forward. Not so much close it off, but you bring what you've learned from that phase of life into the next phase of life, but it's going to be very different. And that's what it means in a dream too, that you're now ready to expand into a different level of consciousness. And you may have this dream several times in your life, particularly doing the exams. And it's typically going to be about something different each time. So it's going to be about something that's relevant or was going on for you at the time just before the dream. Always very good though. A school or a college or a university, well, life is about learning about ourselves to increase our awareness. So anything that helps us, any location that helps us learn about ourselves is perfect for that in a dream. So schools, college and university are always going to give us a subject matter of your spiritual side. Jewelry shops, buried treasure like silver or gold or gemstones, they're always good too, because our spiritual abilities are the most precious part of our nature. So when we dream of these things, buried treasure or silver or gold, it's saying, look, your spiritual aspects are the most precious. Your spiritual gifts are what you're going to use to repay your karmic debts. They're also going to help you deepen your spiritual understanding of yourself. And remember, that's all we get to take with us. We don't get to take our fat bank account if you have one, or 3 or 4 houses if you have them. You only get to take what you've learned about yourself spiritually. Everything else is completely irrelevant. So that's what your life purpose is about. So dreams can remind us, look, you're being too materialistic. You need to look at the precious aspects of your nature. And of course, it's a bit more refined than that. It'll tell us what your abilities are and how you're to use them. Next we have dreams that show your birth I say often show your spiritual gifts and purpose, but they almost always do. Because when we come to the planet, we're very much aware that we're spirits. For the first 2 years of our lives, almost, we're very aware. We're very much more aware of the spirit world as an infant than we are of the physical world. And it takes a while for us to really get used to the body and operate from working within the body. So until around the time a child begins to teeth, then they're very much aware of the spirit world more so than the physical. And then the pain of teething really closes off the crown chakra. If you can see auras and chakras, you will see that an infant's crown chakra is wide open, and by around age 2, that's closed off to pretty much the same way it is for adults. So it's the way it's meant to happen. But anyway, if a dream goes back to birth, then it's going to show what we were aware of at that time of our birth, which is also why we came here. Then we have helping yourself or others in a dream, and if some of these I've cut out. So what are you doing in the dream? If you're talking to a hostile mob, then that indicates you have a leadership ability. If you're driving a taxi, then it means you have an ability to do one-on-one counselling, because a taxi takes a person from where they are to where they need to be, and that's symbolic of what a counsellor does. Takes a person from where they are, where they're stuck, to where they need to get to. There's quite a few other things that will tell us it's a spiritual dream. So let's have a look at the first of the gifts. I'm going to give you a few symbols that indicate this particular ability. We will have done some of these on the show before. Hands-on healing. That's where you put your hands on a person and you channel spiritual healing energy through your body, through your hands and into the person. I talk about how to do that in my newsletter and a lot of my course, but if you've signed up for the newsletter, then there's some details in that about how to do this. It works through male energy because we all have male and female energy, but because we're projecting into someone else, it's obvious that it's going to be male energy here. But the sun is a really good symbol for it. The sun is what gives life to this part of the universe. If the sun wasn't here, we wouldn't be here on this planet. Physical life wouldn't exist. So the sun is probably the strongest symbol in a dream to indicate you have a spiritual healing ability. Another really strong one is hands, because it works through your hands. So if you have hands as a reference in dreams or a focus in dreams, then that's what it's going to be about. Next we have horses. Horses, until recently, or even now, we still measure a car's power in horsepower. Because horses were used for so much, a powerful animal that you could control. So they symbolize the power that you have coursing through your body, that you can channel through your body to help your clients. Then we have a power source, because again, a healer is a power source. Hands-on healing and spiritual healing are the exact same thing. It's the same as what Jesus uses in the Bible, if you're familiar with that. And the reason it's called spiritual healing too is if you can see guides and see the aura, you will see when a spiritual healer puts their hands on somebody, a guide moves into their halfway into their aura, and it's usually a really tall guide, a really gigantic one. And they're the spirit that actually does the healing. So the human agent channels the energy that spirit is going to use. So you don't, as the human entity, you don't need to be fully aware of what's going on, although you get to be fully aware as you practice it more and more. But you don't need to be, because the expertise is controlled by the spirit that's working alongside you while you're doing this. So power source anyway indicates that you've got that. A powerful car or motorbike, again, with a car, remember from rule 1, physical body, a car can symbolize the body. So a powerful car symbolizes the ability to channel power through your body. And it's very much influenced by your relationship with your dad. We all have male and female aspects, but if you have issues with your dad, that can cause you to inhibit the flow of male energy within you, and thus inhibit the spiritual healing ability that you have. So a dream could encourage you to work on the issues you have with your dad, because working on those issues is going to help your spiritual healing ability flourish. So let's have a look at a few dreams, and I've just whittled these down to just little tiny bits of dreams to show you how those symbols can show up in dreams, the ones that we just covered. So here's one called trading cars. I was in a car salesman's office. I went to ask him if I could trade my car in for the red sports car in the forecourt. I walked closer to his desk. There were magazines and books spread across his desk. So straight away we see the sports car. So we know here that the dreamer is a spiritual healer. But what else can we tell from even just this little bit of the dream? Well, the dreamer, she wants to trade her car for the sports car. And the first car, the trading the car in this dream, is about her karma, trading her karma. And you can't do that. So she wants to trade her karma, so she wants to exchange whatever gift that she currently has, which is counseling in reality. She came here to be a counselor, and she wants to change that to be a spiritual healer. And of course you can't do that, because when we train for life, we sign contracts to say, look, I'm going to develop my gifts, and I'm going to use my gifts to help you, and you. And all these people that we need to help, or we owe debts to, we're guaranteed that our lives are going to intersect with those at various different times. And we're going to help them by using our gift. And in helping them, we free ourselves from the karmic obligation that we have on them. Now, if I change my gift, then obviously if they're waiting for me to develop my counseling and I never develop it, it doesn't matter that I'm a spiritual healer. I can no longer repay the debts that were planned for me to repay, and all the other interactions that were planned before I came here. So it's pointless to ever think that you can just change your karma. You can't do it. You have to stick with what your life purpose is. So this dream is saying, look, what's on the table for you is the counseling ability. You can't trade your karma and become a spiritual healer. Let's have a look at another one. The angry man. I'm walking along the harbour on a pier. 40 men on horses come towards me. They're wearing all the garb. They get to the end of the pier and jump off. I did not realise that the water was shallow just there. Okay, so straight away we see harbour in the dream. What happens in a harbour? Ships berth in a harbour, and the pun on berth tells us it's about our birth. But even if there wasn't a pun there, any place where you can start a journey, where it's the end of the line or the start of the line, like the terminus on a bus route, or the starting platform on a train journey, is about the start or end of your journey. We hope it's always going to be about the start of your journey until you reveal something about why you came here. But remember, I said before, when we see birth in a dream, we expect to see what gifts we brought with us, and we're not disappointed. We see here 40 men on horses coming towards the dreamer. So we know she's a spiritual healer, brought that with her. And what else can we tell from this dream? Just this very small snippet. She says in the dream, I did not realize that the water was shallow just there. So a polite way to put this is to say that you came here to develop your spiritual healing ability, and through using that, you're going to deepen your spiritual understanding. And that's what the shallow water is about, because remember, water represents spirituality. And all the horses jump into that. So another one, you can see very clearly how it shows up in dreams and how simple it is. Let's have a look at another. Caught up in Christmas lights. I don't know why I'm slurring my words. Trust me, I wasn't near any eggnog. I was caught up in Christmas lights and the power cables supplying them were connected to me. I tried to remove them, but they were live. I could see them running to the fuse board, 3 separate wires. I was trying to figure out how to remove them, but hadn't figured it out by the end of the dream. All I could do was prove to myself that the voltage was higher than the normal and that the current was running through me. Okay, for this dreamer, it was a little bit of a scary dream. So we have Christmas showing up, another symbol for birth. This is about the birth of Jesus. Remember though, of course, rule 1 of dream interpretation, everything in a dream is about you. So this is about your birth. And if you think Jesus' birth was very important, then it's used in this dream. Christmas is used in this dream to say, look, your birth is very important. You came here with a specific purpose. Please discover and stick to that purpose. So then we have the power cables and they're connected to the dreamer. So again, not connected into a power socket, but connected straight to the fuse board. So we know again that this dreamer is a spiritual healer just from these simple dreams or symbols that are showing up here. And the current is running through the dreamer. Now this dreamer had used spiritual healing for some time in the past, but had stopped using it for many years and wanted to get back into it again, and was afraid though that because of the time where they didn't use it, that they may have lost their ability. Now you can't do that. You can't lose your abilities. They're an innate part of you. It's like, you know, not paying attention to your left hand. It's still always going to be there. So the current is running through them, and the focus on the dream is that the power was live. So telling the dreamer, giving them the answer that they needed to hear, that look, this power is still within you, still connected to you, and it's still potent. Of course the dreamer's afraid of it, but it still answers it for the dreamer. Let's have a look at one more. I think we've just got one more on this particular one. The fake ocean. We can tell straight away from the title what the dreamer thinks about spirituality. So what have we got? We've got ocean and we've got water, and they are both symbols to tell us this is indeed a spiritual dream. Then we have the sun, the strongest symbol almost for spiritual healing. So we know the dreamer is a spiritual healer, but do they believe that they're a spiritual healer? And the answer is no, because to them they're saying, look, this whole set looked fake. It looked two-dimensional. In fact, they describe it as a two-dimensional thing. So it's this dream actually, when I got it, it was 20 years old. I did not know that. The dreamer just sent it to me. And I wrote back to her and I said, look, the dream says you're going to be a spiritual healer. And because of other things that are in this dream, I said, you're going to teach it at some point in your life. And it's just going to be something that you're really good at. Like at the end of the dream here, she says, someone pushed me and I fell into it. So she wrote back and said, well, surprisingly, I already teach it and I've been teaching it for some time. You know, she told me then that it was an old dream. But here we go. We could see from this part at this time in her life, she didn't believe in spiritual healing, but that doesn't matter. You don't need these things you don't need to believe in them for them to be real. They're part of your life, and that's just how it works. I think that's the last one that we have on spiritual healing. So the sandcastle. So I said the beach is about your spiritual approach, and sandcastles are made with sand from a beach typically. So it says be creative with your spiritual approach, because creating something with the sand is of course about the dreamer being creative. And let's just see, do we have another one there, or do we move on to communication with spirits? So this is the second ability I wanted to cover. And let's jump into the symbols that are going to show up in these dreams. So a singer and music. If you've ever read books about near-death experiences, almost all people who've had near-death experiences talk about hearing this harmonious music as they journey through the spirit world. So singing and music are synonymous with the spirit world. A lot of singers, a lot of musicians say they get their inspiration from their dreams. But music, the source for it is really from the spirit world. So it symbolizes that in dreams, singing and music. Dolphins or whales may seem a little bit strange. We've covered this on the show before. But if you consider that a dolphin and a whale, they're both air-breathing mammals just like us, but these mammals have moved back into the ocean. And remember that the ocean symbolizes the spirit world, so it means an air-breathing mammal like you or me who has the ability to travel unharmed into the spirit world. And of course, that's what a channel does. They raise their vibration, reach the spirit world and connect and get messages. Very common one actually, dolphins and whales to see in dreams. And then the internet, more of a modern one, an ability to get messages from a distance. It could be the internet wired or wireless. Quite often it's wireless in a dream, and we'll see a wireless one in a dream coming up in a short while. And then clairaudient. There are many different types of channeling. There's about 7 different types. Clairaudient is where you hear. You can hear your guides. So it's important to realize if you're a channel, you need to discover from your dreams what type of channel. There's no point you practicing, for instance, to be a clairaudient channel if that's not the way it is for you. You may get it through feeling, you may get it through images, you may get it through trance channeling. There's lots and lots of different ways. You can get it through thoughts impressed on your mind if you have a telepathic ability. And there's more ways than that. So you need to understand the type of channel that you are, and your dreams will tell you. I've just whittled it down here to make it simpler. So anyway, clairaudient is indicated by a radio receiver because we use them to tune in and pick up stations or pick up messages, and that's what a channel does. Headphones, because obviously we hear things with headphones. And then references to ears are common in dreams for people who are clairaudient. What else have we got? Let's have a look at some dreams then. Riding in cars with celebrities. This dreamer says, "The next thing I know, I'm a passenger in a different car and Taylor Swift is driving. We're singing along to her songs on the radio." So we have Taylor Swift as a singer, so we know it's about that the dreamer's a channel. We have singing, so again we know it's a channel, she's a channel. And then we have the radio, so we have 3 symbols, and that's usually the way dreams are. They have multiple symbols, typically 3, all about the same thing that give us confidence to say that's what this dream is about. Now I'm only showing snippets of dreams, so that's why you're only seeing 1 or 2 symbols in what we've covered so far. So very straightforward. We see how it shows up for this dreamer. She's a channel, came here to be a channel. Let's have a look at another one. Special headphones. I had a set of special headphones that I got from my former employer. They were luminous red, and the light they emitted pulsed in sync with the core wireless network. I was holding them in my hand. I could hear messages on them anytime I listened. I made my way to my mother's house. Suddenly 2 people were with me. I went up the drive and my mother tried to prevent me from going in. I brushed her aside and brought them inside all the time, holding the pulsating luminous red headphones. Okay, straight away we see the special headphones. We know the dreamer is clairaudient, he can hear his guides. What else we got? We got the wireless network, so also backs up that the dreamer is a channel. They can get information over the airwaves. And this part couldn't be clearer. It says, I could hear messages. So we know definitely that the dreamer is a clairaudient channel, can hear messages. What else is the dreamer telling us? We have, he says here, and I don't have it highlighted, I made my way to my mother's house, but she tried to prevent me from going in. So dreams where you approach a building and leave again are always about entering the physical body, and leaving that building then is about birth. So here, trying to get into your mom's house is about trying to get into the womb. We all make this journey around month 5 of the 9 months of pregnancy. Around month 5, our spirit goes into the body and stays there, into the fetus body and stays there. But here we see the mother didn't want the child to come in. So this dreamer has issues with his mom. His mom didn't want another child, and that's something he's got to deal with in order to improve his channeling ability, and that's why it shows up in the dream. There's lots more in these little, even in these little snippets, but we're keeping it simple. And do we have another section here? Swimming with dolphins. I'm in a large swimming pool trying to get out, but there are about 6 large dolphins in the water, and they keep nudging me back into the pool. It is a beautiful dream. They are swimming under me and pushing me under the belly up out of the water. It keeps happening, and then I wake up. So we have the swimming pool. That's a little bit stepping back from even a lake. So we know this is kind of like saying to somebody, look, please get into your spiritual ability, and kind of do it with training wheels. We'll accept that, but we just want you to get into it. Well, what is the ability? Well, it's dolphins, tells us, and the large dolphins say you need to make more room in your life for your channeling ability. And that's what that symbolizes. So they're being nudged to get into using their spiritual gifts. A lot of people have fears about channeling. Some of that comes from Hollywood always depicting it as a kind of scary thing, but a lot of it comes from persecution in former lives. You don't have to go too far back to where you would be arrested if you said you were communicating with the dead, and go a little bit further back than that, and you would have been burned at the stake. Almost doesn't matter what country you were in, including America. that would have been the fate for you. So a lot of fears that people have come from the fact that they used it in a former life and it was really risky to use it in a former life. And we use it in this lifetime and we connect with the fear so that we can overcome that fear and grow past it. So I think that's all we have there. And then I have one dream I want to do in detail to give you a good idea of how dreams work from top to bottom. First we'll look at the symbols and we'll say, okay, an eagle in a dream symbolizes prophecy, because an eagle can see, the mythology is that an eagle flies so high that from its high vantage point it can see the past, present and future. So the eagle symbolizes having the gift of prophecy. But then we also have the fortune teller, so we know definitely that this dreamer has an ability to tell the future. Not very common in reality, so not very common in dreams. And then what else do we have? We have the earrings, and we have the reference to being able to hear much better with the earrings on. So we know that the dreamer is also a clairaudient channel. And then we have flying with guides. I didn't cover that earlier, but flying with your guide in a dream is another thing that indicates you have a channeling ability. So a prophetic and clairaudient channel. And she sells jewelry. That tells us that the dreamer has been told that they should use their gift in a commercial capacity. That's not always the case. Sometimes we just use our gift, maybe to help us in a different career that, is unrelated, or we just use it for ourselves and friends. But here it's no, look, you're meant to make your livelihood from using your prophetic ability, is what this says. So let's have a look at this dream, reset the board from the top, and what do we have? Just reading it as a sentence, and I have it showing up on the right hand side here. My jump off point, or how I begin, my jump off point is to meditate, and that's what flying in a dream symbolizes, raising your vibration, is to meditate, to raise my vibration, and practice being light and free. And then I'm to do this for some time, and after I do it for some time, I'll connect with my guide, and we will get comfortable together. Once we're comfortable together, my guide will lead me to developing my prophetic gift, which is on the table for me. And I'm to use it commercially alongside my clairaudient gift. And lastly, this will help me see my beauty. This is what the Feeling Very Beautiful is about. So there it is, a little bit different for New Year's Day. I hope you enjoyed the show.